Thank you for your inspiring words. As Jeremy mentioned, within a few short weeks of your appointment as Opposition Leader, you took the time to meet with the Victorian Jewish community, and as you mentioned in your speech, so many of us, ably assisted by David Southwick. A few short weeks, but 12 years of celebrating Israel's independence from 65 to 77. We will have you back, and we will have you back more often. You inherit a long and proud tradition of committed support for the State of Israel and the Jewish community. We are pleased to hear that it will continue under your leadership. You describe the importance of going to Israel and learning about the position from there. Thank you for that. It gives me a very nice segue into what I was going to speak about. 4 days ago, I returned from a trip to Israel as Australia's representative to the World Jewish Congress, which met in Jerusalem. I have brought back one of the sounds of daily life in Israel, which I will play for you now. Those of you who have been to Israel at any time in the last 18 to 20 months will know exactly what that is. That is the test of the alert sound on a mobile phone app known as Seva Adom, or Red Alert. If you are in Israel and you hear that sound, there is an incoming missile to your area and you must travel to a bomb shelter immediately. I was in Israel for only 8 days, and yet I heard that sound 4 times. Twice in Tel Aviv, once in Jerusalem, and once at Ben Gurion Airport as I was preparing to leave. The missile attacks are designed to create panic and maximum psychological impact. It is no coincidence, therefore, that the alerts I heard sounded at 2 a.m. one night, 4 a.m. another night, on a Thursday evening when the streets were full, and finally during a busy period at the airport. I want to locate this in an Australian and Victorian context. We all recall the terror of the Bali bombings. Imagine an attack many times larger and significantly more vicious and depraved. Further, it was not committed by a fringe terrorist minority, but by fighters retained by an elected government for that very purpose. Now imagine that the massacre occurred principally at several farms just outside Geelong, or Bendigo perhaps. Nearly 2 years later, in an ongoing war caused by that attack, Victorians are still being killed and are the subject of endless rocket attacks. If you were to live in Melbourne in the scenario I've just described, and you received an alert like you just heard, you have a maximum of 1.5 minutes to grab your sleeping child and run to the closest bomb shelter. It will be in your house or apartment block, because in Israel for the last 75 years, nearly its entire existence, every building has been required by law to have one. In Israel, I ran to those shelters when I was at dinner with my cousins, and I did it in the hotels in which I was staying. I was lucky to have those precious 1.5 minutes on each occasion. The alerts last week were for incoming cruise missiles from the Houthis, a terrorist group in Yemen. Those missiles crossed 3 countries, 3 land borders, and more than 2,000 kilometres of ground to get to Israel. There is enough time for Israel's defensive systems to, hopefully, shoot the missile out of the air and destroy it before the intended target is reached. My greatest risk was falling shrapnel from a mid-air explosion rather than the missile itself. On the day before I left Israel, I went to the Nova Dan site, where 378 civilians were killed and 44 were taken hostage. It is just one of many massacre sites in southern Israel. There are huge signs in Israel's 3 primary languages: Hebrew, Arabic, and English. So much for an apartheid state. Those signs warn of the risk of rocket attack from Gaza and of the location of the on-site bomb shelter. But I'll let you in on a secret. The shelter at the Nova Memorial serves no purpose. That is because the border with Gaza is less than 5 kilometres away. At Nova, the signs tell you the warning time is 15 seconds, which is not enough time to take shelter. Instead, the signs advise you, if there is an alert, to lie on the ground and cover your head with your hands. They might well have said, hope for the best and pray. Israel is at war, as Jeremy pointed out, a messy and horrible war. People have died in Gaza and in Israel, and sadly they will continue to die in both places. That is a tragedy. But on one side, you have Iran using its proxies and puppets, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen, to attack Israel over and over, even as I was in Israel last week. Hamas in particular, listed by Australia as a terrorist organisation, is the elected government of Gaza, committed to the annihilation of Israel, and has said that it will commit 7 October again and again. Hamas built a tunnel network to hide its fighters, weapons, and the hostages that it took on 7 October. By comparison, and thankfully for me, when I was there last week, and so many others, Israel has built shelters and sophisticated defence systems to protect its citizens from attack. This war will end, and the suffering on all sides will cease when all of the hostages are returned, Hamas is disarmed and removed from power. That outcome is entirely in Hamas's hands. In the meantime, Israelis go on with their lives. They have no other choice. The alert at Ben Gurion caused airport operations to be suspended for only 5 minutes. The aircraft refuelers and baggage handlers returned to the tarmac. Boarding was only slightly delayed, and my flight to Dubai, in an Arab nation at peace with Israel, departed on time. As we rose in the air, travelling the same path as those missiles but in the reverse direction, I deleted the red alert from my phone and thought about how lucky we are to live in Australia. Unlike Israel, Australia is not and has never been under constant attack on all sides and internationally. Unlike Israel, Australia is at peace. Having spoken to many, many Israelis in my time there, I can tell you that that is all that Israel citizens want, whether they be Jewish, Arab, or any other faith or ethnic grouping. Peace. Half a world away, that is what we fervently wish for them and for their state, our state. That the sirens will fall silent and never sound again.